Hi, I'm Emily. I've had multiple experiences with concussion or mild traumatic brain injury in my life and had my life significantly changed through symptoms from my concussions. So yes, I've had experience of multiple concussions in my lifetime. I had 3 growing up and 1 as a teenager, which I really didn't think much of. Went back to sport pretty much straight away and tried to ignore it. But my 4th one I got when I was 25. I was playing soccer as goalkeeper, dove forward to try and save a goal, and the girl swung, kicked and collected me clean in the forehead. I knew pretty much straight away that something was quite wrong. It didn't feel like it had before. But it took a couple of weeks to actually acknowledge that perhaps this was a bit more serious than I first thought, and it actually got worse before it got better. Since then, I had another 2 concussions, so it takes me to a total of 6, and they've really quite dramatically changed my life and who I am as a person now. I sat on the edge of the field for a couple of hours and I couldn't tolerate the noise of the whistle for the referee for the game that kept going. Every time the whistle went off, I wanted to vomit. The light was so bright, even though it was only like a 20-degree day. I ended up lying underneath a pile of jackets on the side of the field just because I couldn't tolerate the light and the noise, and I just wanted to curl up and go into a ball and not hear or see anything at all, and just felt really, really sick. My neck was sore, but it wasn't enough for me to go, I need to call an ambulance or anything. And it wasn't until I went to a GP that day that I saw a nurse at this GP clinic who was extremely concerned and sent me to hospital. So it would have taken about 6 hours from the time of my accident to getting to hospital. After I got to the hospital, the emergency doctors did some scans. There was nothing on it. They weren't worried. They gave me a tablet to help with my dizziness because apparently I had nystagmus, which is your eyes twitching, going side to side. And at this point, I couldn't stand up without wanting to vomit. I couldn't move my head. I couldn't see straight. Everything was spinning on an axis. And they basically just sent me home with mum and said, just go see your GP in a couple of days. You've just got a concussion. You'll be fine. Maybe 3 days later, I knew, okay, I've got to get back to work, so I've got to go get a sick certificate from my doctor. Went to see my GP. He did some neuro obs and went, you're not right, I'm not going to send you back to work. But in this time period, I thought, yep, I'll be fine in a couple of days. I'll be all good. I'll be able to go back to work. And I still couldn't get out of bed other than having to go to the GP. When I got home from the GP, I went back to bed. My room was dark. I couldn't tolerate any noise. I had to shut all the doors so I couldn't hear the TV in the other room. Turn all my alarm clocks off because any noise like that triggered a migraine, which I'd never had before in my life. And basically just lived in a dark, cold room for a couple of weeks until the GP went, you're not improving, let's try something different. So I think I was referred to a neurologist maybe 3 months after the accident, so it had been a long period of time. I wasn't getting any better, still feeling very, very unwell. I would venture out of the house maybe once or twice a week, and when I did, I'd trigger a migraine and ended up being bedbound for another 48 hours. So I wasn't eating, I wasn't sleeping properly, couldn't function normally. I honestly had such a broad range of symptoms that I can't tell you what lasted the longest. I may have mentioned before that I developed migraines for the first time after my accident, and I had daily migraines for at least 9 months straight, and we didn't have any medication that really worked for them. Everything I tried either made me really, really drowsy and didn't stop the migraines, or it just had no effect at all. I still to this day have intolerance to light and sound, and it's coming up on 5 years in a few months, so it's been a fair recovery. The frontal filter thing is something that I've worked on for a long time but persisted for a while, and just my tolerance to any kind of exertion, whether that's like excitement or exercise, the connection between my brain and my heart has had some issues, so my heart now doesn't function normally. If I start to exercise, my heart rate jumps and skyrockets, just because the part of my brain that controls how my heart rate and my blood pressure doesn't control it well enough anymore. So I still have that to this day. And it's impacted a lot of my sport, obviously, not being able to do too much running, especially in summer heat. It's just something that will wipe me out. And I've actually fainted a couple of times mid-race because my heart rate has gone up past 200 beats per minute, and something that I never had before. Someone who was always quite fit and active. I played sport from 4 years old, and at 25 I couldn't run a kilometre. I think it took me a good amount of time to get running again after the accident when I was 25. I worked with a neurophysio to just slowly regulate getting back into things, doing the heart rate, the buffalo heart rate thing where they give you a heart rate not to go above it. And a lot of people who know running will know a lot of zone 2 work, whereas my zone 2 is a lot higher than a normal person's. In terms of other symptoms, I had a lot of neurological and nerve problems after one of my most recent concussions. So I had, the only way I can describe it is it felt like a motorbike tyre had run over the back of my head, and I had this burning, tingling sensation for a good few months, just constantly on the back of my head. So I couldn't tolerate brushing my hair or having my hair tied back because that aggravated the nerve. It's a bit like when you hit your funny bone, except it's on your head all the time. And that was just from where I hit my head on one of my most recent concussions was the back, and that just aggravated the nerves on the back of my skull. And yeah, it's not a pleasant sensation at all. Yeah, so I liked the idea of shaping, making it good of a bad situation. So I did mention before that I went back to study. So after my injury, as a radiographer, I couldn't understand what was going on, and it frustrated me so much. So I decided to go back and do postgraduate research into concussions. So now I'm doing a PhD looking at concussion injuries, trying to see what's going on in terms at the brainwave level, which I think is really, really cool. And as part of that, I'm using everything that I have in my arsenal to spread word and how important this is and how concussions should be taken seriously. I think one of the things that I want people to know is that you're not alone. There are so many people going through concussion experiences, brain injury experiences, and everyone's slightly different in terms of their symptoms or their experience in terms of where it happened, how it happened, but you're never truly alone. And I think concussion is and all brain injuries are very isolating injuries because you can't physically see it necessarily. Sometimes you can see them in scans, sometimes you can't, but it doesn't mean that the injury isn't very real for that person. So if you know that there's something wrong, something's not right, especially with your brain, which is so much of who you are and what you do, just advocating for yourself, getting help, talking to your loved ones, whether that's your friends or your family, speaking to people who look after you, carers, GPs, physios, anyone that you have touch with in the health world, and getting that help that just start. Sometimes just having someone to talk to is really, really important, and saying, I'm having a bad time, this is my injury, and I don't feel like people understand it. And having someone on the other side to hear that and go, okay, how can we help you? What can we do for you? And sometimes that's just enough, but other times it's getting that help that you need, whether that's the team of specialists that I got, or seeing a doctor and talking about medication options or return to work options. So you're not alone. There's so many of us, and you can do it.